RPN, the Roddenberry Podcast Network.
Today's daily Star Trek news is supported by listeners like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/daily Star Trek news. Hello and welcome to your daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. I'm Allison Pitt, and today is Monday, August 17th, 2020. On today's show, Star Trek boss Alex Kurtzman confirms that Strange New Worlds will be episodic. Lower Decks creator Mike McMahan says the show is like covers of the greatest hits, and the Picard Season 1 soundtrack is now available to pre-order on special edition vinyl. We're catching up with the weekend's Star Trek news, coming up next. Star Trek boss Alex Kurtzman has confirmed that the upcoming Captain Pike-led series, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, will return the franchise to its episodic roots with standalone episodes. Comicbook.com reported over the weekend that Kurtzman made the remarks in a video interview with Deadline. In the interview, Kurtzman focused primarily on Star Trek Short Treks, which is nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Short-Form Comedy or Drama Series. Shortly after a discussion of the themes of the Enterprise-focused Short Treks episode, Q&A, interviewer Dominic Patton pivoted to ask Kurtzman what we could expect from Pike, Spock, and Number 1 when we see them again in Strange New Worlds. I think Strange New Worlds, under the guidance of Henry Myers and Akiva Goldsman, is going to be a return, in a way, to TOS, Kurtzman said. We're going to do more standalone episodes. There will be emotional serialization, there will be two-parters, there will be larger plot arcs, but it really is back to the model of Alien of the Week, Planet of the Week, Challenge on the Ship of the Week, with these characters pre-Kirk's Enterprise. Kurtzman went on to add that telling Pike's story in the show will be a unique challenge, since the events of Star Trek Discovery Season 2 have led him to a place where he knows the tragedy that the future holds for him. The idea is, Kurtzman said, how does a character who knows how he's going to die live optimistically from that point on and lead a ship? You have to have an inherent optimism in your worldview in order to say, I'm going to get up every morning knowing how it's going to end for me, and still lead everybody to be the best versions of themselves. You can watch the full interview for yourself now on Deadline.com, and of course, if you'd like to catch up with the Emmy-nominated Short Treks, you can do that on CBS All Access. Last week, the makers of Star Trek Lower Decks took part in a virtual Q&A at ReedPop's Metaverse Con. Series creator Mike McMahan, supervising director Barry Kelly, writer M. Willis, and character designer Marissa Livingston were all on hand for the event, and the team over at Trek Movie helpfully gathered some of the more pertinent points of the talk. Trek Movie's coverage focused on two areas of the talk, Lower Decks humor and teasers for the remainder of Season 1. When it comes to humor, Lower Decks takes its material seriously, but still tries to keep the tone light, and it's the characters who drive the humor. Director Kelly indicated his approach to the show's sci-fi content, saying, "It's only going to make the comedy funnier, the more serious I take the sci-fi." McMahon echoed the sentiment when talking about the music, saying, "The music doesn't get to think it's a comedy. The music thinks this is a 40-minute dramatic episode of Star Trek. The characters end up doing funny things." Trek Movie also noted a few upcoming teasers for the rest of Season 1, as per McMahan, including a holodeck malfunction, a trial episode, lots of action, and as he says, they're doing their covers of the greatest hits. Head over to Trek Movie's site for their full coverage of the Q&A session, including the panel video, which includes a sneak preview of the cold open of Star Trek Lower Decks, Episode 3, Temporal Edict. More news in a moment, but first, a word from me. This show is supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Your contributions from just $1 a month and up fund the resources that we use to keep delivering Star Trek news to you wherever you are. whether it's here through the podcast or on our website or even our daily newsletter. We're committed to keeping you up to date on the latest news in the Star Trek fandom, and you can help. Just head to patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News to find out how your monthly contribution of just $1 or more can make a difference. That's patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News, and a big thanks to you for supporting this show. Consider this for a moment. The table is set, literally. You pick up the delicate arm, swinging it to the left as the motor clicks on and the record begins to spin. As the needle touches down, you're instantly transported to the future, but with a familiar nostalgic vibe, as the opening theme to Star Trek Picard transmits from the etchings in the vinyl. Music publisher Lakeshore Records has announced the October release of Season 1 of the Star Trek Picard soundtrack on vinyl. Last week, TrekCore brought us the first look at the LP soundtrack, which features 26 selections from Season 1 of Picard. The music isn't the only thing that makes this set stand out in your record collection, though. The special release boasts stunning artwork from the series and showcases two 140-gram records, pressed in colored vinyl that they describe as transparent green with splatter. That's right. Transparent. The records are green, but you can see right through them. Combine that with a splatter graphic, and you've got two records that are awfully reminiscent of the Borg, but will look striking as they spin on your turntable. Between Jeff Russo's atmospheric soundtrack and the unique looks of the record's jacket and sleeves, this piece is sure to please fans and collectors. The limited release soundtrack of Star Trek Picard Season 1 on vinyl is available for pre-order from Amazon.com or direct from LakeshoreRecordsShop.com and is set to beam down on October 9th. Well, that's it for today's Daily Star Trek News from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek News is produced by me, Allison Pitt, with selected stories by Chris Peterson. We're supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out how you can add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Sign up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact. Get all the day's Star Trek news delivered straight to your inbox every weekday morning. And if email's not your thing, then don't forget to follow Daily Star Trek News on social media. We're at Daily Trek News on Twitter and Instagram. I'm back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know and this week's Trek Trivia. I'm Allison Pitt. Live long and prosper.
Podcast.roddenberry.com, the Roddenberry Podcast Network.